and welcome to the Georgina Ward 1 by-election debate. I am Joe Connors, your moderator this evening. On December the 14th, 2016, Georgina Town Council passed a bylaw declaring a by-election to fill the Ward 1 council seat vacancy. Voting day is March 27th, 2017. This debate, hosted by Rogers TV Georgina, the Georgina Chamber of Commerce, Town of Georgina, and the Simcoe Shores Toastmasters, gives residents the opportunity to get to know the Ward 1 candidates better. Over the next couple of hours, we will be hearing from each of the 9 candidates to find out where they stand on key issues affecting the ward and the town of Georgina. Now it's time to meet the candidates. Prior to beginning the debate, the candidates drew numbers to determine the order in which they will be speaking. From left to right: Charlene Biggerstaff, Robin Smith, Sylvia Bona, Boris Godzianevski, Cindy Clark, Forrest Jones, Spencer Phillips, Lee Dale, and Mike Waddington. Each candidate now has the opportunity to give a 1-minute opening statement. Members of the Simcoe Shores Toastmasters will be acting as timekeepers this evening. So first we'll be having candidate number 1.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who's participating in the by-election and everyone who's arrived tonight and at home viewing. For me personally, I've spent a long time in the community, providing a lot of effort and time and enjoying getting to know people and giving back. I've interwoven myself into this community, and I think that becoming a part of the council is the next eventual step for me. For the by-election, I hope you really do think of me when you go to the polls.
Okay, thank you, Charlene. Next, Robin.
My name is Robin Smith, and I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight and thank all of the organizers of this event. I've lived in Keswick in the same home for 18 years. In 2006, I purchased a local business. The leap from the corporate world to owning my own business has been more rewarding than I could ever have imagined. I've been an integral part in many local events as an organizer, as a volunteer, and as a participant. As a director with the Georgina Chamber of Commerce, I've worked to promote and support local business and developed strategic partnerships. Along with that, I've held a seat on the town's Economic Development Committee. That's provided some very relevant experience for me that I'm proud to own. As the co-owner of a local publication from 2009 to 2015, I've met and been with many local residents, and my time's nearly up. I look forward to meeting more of you, and I hope to do more.
Thank you, Robin. Sylvia Bona.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming out. I'm so happy to see people coming out to be involved in local politics and municipal government. My name is Sylvia Bona, and I was a teacher for 10 years. I retired at the age of 32, and I now own a gym in town. And I love helping people, and that's my passion. As a counselor, I want to make sure that I continue to work with people in the community and connect with you and constantly communicate with people in my community and be your vessel and your voice. And I'm blessed and happy to be in this position, and I'm speechless, quite honestly. So thank you so much for your support. And my main thing is I want to build a community center in our subdivision in Ward 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Boris Godzianevski.
Good evening. My name is Boris Godzianevski. I came to Georgina as a 7-year-old boy that didn't speak any English. I went through our school system, I swam in our lake, and I played in our parks. And looking back at what the government did for this town, I'm disappointed because the amount of potential that Georgina has is tremendous, and it has been nowhere near fulfilled. All I hear is talk, and talk is cheap. You have to pick up the hammer and get to work. And that's what I want to do for Ward 1, and I hope to have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
My name is Cindy Clark, and I want to thank everyone for coming out today and showing us your support. I have been in Keswick for 5 years in Georgina, and I moved here after being married. I came from a country town, and when I came here I was very pleased with what I saw. I love the small town feel, but we had the beautiful lake, we had Toronto so close, and 3 urban centers in one little town. It was quite wonderful. And I think that we need to build Georgina up to the town of the future that we wish it to be. And I think that that means that we have to really start to invest more and be more strategic in what we do. I just wanted to say that Georgina is a great place to live. I'd like it to be a great place to work. And through all of my volunteerism with the town and in charities, I think that I have a very good idea of how people think and what they need from us as council people. The government is here to listen, and I will too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. Forrest Jones.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Forrest Jones. Thank you for coming tonight. I actually live in Ward 1, and I'm very, very proud to call Georgina home. We are very fortunate and very blessed to have access to such wonderful beaches, shopping, and many parks to enjoy. Right now, though, we are about to see a huge population growth, and most of it is coming to Ward 1. This means more people traveling on our streets and more stores and businesses opening. We need this growth in order to afford things like the Merc in the future. Not today, but in the future. After meeting with the several people from the town staff, Mayor and Honorable Mayor Quirk, this past week, I realized what a major challenge it is to keep up with what's going on, let alone with what's coming. We need council to support the town staff in a major way, and when elected, I will cohesively work with each member of this team, council, and community to make it happen. I'm hoping, because of the brevity of this, that you'll take an opportunity to visit our website, my website, forrestjones.ca, to see the many things that I'm going to do.
Thank you, Forrest. Up next, Spencer Phillips.
Hi, I'm Spencer Phillips. You may know me. I ran in the previous election. I've been in Keswick for 25 years, and it's been entirely in Ward 1. I feel that I'm the best candidate for the position because of my background. My education is urban planning and geomatics. And I have to say, everybody keeps talking about how the taxes are going up and that we can't have that, but then we also hear the conversation of, well, we don't want business. Well, we can't have it both ways. And I feel that from being here for 25 years, I grew up in the town when it was still very small, and I feel like we can still have the small town vibe while still moving towards a better tax base for our people, and that way we can have all the facilities we want that service all of the people in the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
Hello, my name is Lee Dale. I sit before you here tonight humbled by the prospect of representing you in council. I'm a lifelong resident of Ward 1 who lives in an ordinary house in a really extraordinary town. I've spent my working career on infrastructure projects and facilitating the movement of large equipment all over Ontario. My hands are those of a worker with real scars and stories. I have elevated myself to elite status within the industry with hard work and the ability to see projects through. I have worked with all levels of government to facilitate major project targets for both build and budget. I believe I have an opportunity here to create a working relationship with all of you, one where every voice matters. I am a neighbor for some, a friend to others, and also a family to really amazing people. I have also prided myself with the ability to listen and respond. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Lee. Next, Mike Waddington.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mike Waddington, and I'm running for this position because I truly believe that I can make a real difference. For years now, we've seen the negatives that politics can bring to government. People being elected with unrealistic promises of new facilities at the cost of a crumbling infrastructure, or just overspending to the point where the government debt load becomes a burden on the next generation. I'm not that candidate. I want to be a rational voice on council who will advocate for you and not just the flashy things that I think are going to get me reelected. I want safe streets in our community, and that's going to be a priority for me. I also want to expand and improve the recreational options that we've got throughout the town. But by improving and upgrading what we currently have instead of creating new facilities that just aren't necessary. More importantly though, I want to be that person on council who you trust to understand how hard you work to support for your family. And I won't just continue expanding municipal expenses at the cost of your wallet. If you agree, vote Waddington.
Thank you to all our candidates. I'll now be asking our first question. As mentioned, candidates drew numbers for their place on stage. Question number 1 will be answered by candidate number 2 first, followed by 3, 4, and so on. Our next question will then be answered by candidate number 3 first, and so on, and we'll continue throughout the evening. So question number 1. The 2017 Development Charges Bylaw includes collecting funds for a multi-use recreation center in South Keswick. What are your feelings on this project, and what would you like to see at this location? And we're going to direct this to Robin Smith.
Thank you. And without a doubt, we knew that that was going to be one of the questions that came up tonight. I feel that providing sufficient and adequate recreation is a key role of any municipality. People move to communities that provide good quality of life. Recreation and culture are part of that good life. We're now in a position to meet the obligation with money largely from the development charge funds, lessening the impact on the tax levy. The need for an additional facility, the MERC, has been proven through the recreational needs facility, and specifically the south end of Keswick, it's already proven. We need to get the project underway. No matter what, it's going to take time, so we need to start now, choose the land, specify the amenities, and make a strong business plan to make it successful and move forward. It certainly is an opportunity and an exciting thing to move forward with.
Thanks, Robin. Sylvia Bona.
Hi. My main campaign, the reason I'm running for it is because I want to have a recreational center in South Keswick. That is my main goal. And as a kid growing up in Toronto, I was very, very poor growing up, and recreational centers have saved my life. They've saved me from gangs, from gang violence, all that stuff. And one thing I think that we need to have in South Keswick is a multi-use recreational facility. And as such, I agree with Robin. We have almost $700,000 per year put aside toward that project. We need to have it built yesterday, not tomorrow. We don't have to wait for it. We have to build it right now. And I believe that's something that's important for our youth, something for them to do after school. And as opposed to breaking the cars after school and playing car hopping, we need to do that right now. Thank you so much.
Boris Godzinevsky.
Yeah, I got a mountain of evidence that tells me this project, the chances of it being $30 million, which is the estimated cost, is next to zero. The most recent example, the Magna Center in Newmarket, cost $37 million, took 7 years to construct, and opened 10 years ago, so you have to account inflation, right? So let's say we get through that, minimum 5 years construction, minimum, and it opens up. Past day one, that will not be fully utilized, given the population density in Georgina, okay? So, might take 10 years for it to be fully utilized, and in that 15-year stretch, could cost upwards of nearing $50 million, very plausible. In that 15-year stretch, it could essentially bankrupt the town. I wish that was an exaggeration, but unfortunately it is not. There are alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
My door-to-door campaign has revealed that people are split on this issue. I have half the people saying I really want it, and half the people saying it's too expensive. My feeling is that we need to address this reasonably and in steady time. So right now, they have planned to have design and feasibility done for the price of, I believe, $2 million. That is to get that plan shovel ready in lieu of a provincial election coming, a federal election coming, perhaps cash flowing. We also have different tiers of government that we can appeal to. The expression is beg, borrow, steal. I'm not saying steal, but beg and borrow as much as we can to try and get this facility built, because I think it's important to build the town we want. Our population will double in relatively short amount of time, and we will have the population. As long as we don't overlap with East Gwillimbury's programs, we have to be very careful to plan and be sure that we are being good community partners.
Thank you, Cindy. Forrest Jones.
Listen, I want the Merc. I want the Merc tomorrow, but we are not in a position to bring the Merc tomorrow or in 2 years or probably not even in 5. I met with Dan Pisani, our Director of Public Works, the other day, on Monday. He asked for $3.2 million for roads. Roads, an essential service in our community. He got 1.7, I think. We're $1.5 million short to Dan on his roads. I met with the fire chief this past week. We need a new fire hall. The one that they're in right now in Keswick is, frankly, in pretty bad need for just repair, in need of repair. We're going to need a new fire hall. We have so many things that we need before we put in a recreation center. I want the recreation center worse than anything. I want to put the new town hall there. I want to put a new fire hall there. I want to put a hockey stadium there. I want to put all kinds of things there. But things have to be done gradually. We've already allocated $2 million. It's going in this year. As far as the $2 million, probably.
Thank you, Forrest. Spencer Phillips.
My feelings on the Merc, I have mixed feelings on it. I know that we need it. I know that growing up in Ward 1, it would have been nice to have had a multi-use recreational facility in that area. I know, but I don't believe that at this point in time we have the money for it necessarily. We can say, yes, we put aside $2 million. Sure, that gives us the plan. But it's going to cost money to build, and we can't keep going into the pockets of the people in town and expect them to be okay with it. We have to get more people in town, and we have to get more business in town to upgrade our commercial tax base to allow us to be able to afford these things. We can't keep diving in. We can't keep borrowing, as was previously said. We have to start having the money ourselves. We can't keep putting ourselves in debt and expecting that to pay off in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
Well, I guess with this question, I first want to say that I completely support having the MERC, the Multi-Use Recreation Center in town. I think it's 100% necessary. I myself have 5 children. I grew up in this ward. I think it could be somewhere for seniors, for at-risk youth, for all kinds of services that we just don't have in town to become available. My perspective on it is that I think before we spend $2 million on design, we need to decide as a town what type of partnerships we're going to create to build this. There's P3 models, there's partnerships with operating programs. All these things need to be decided before we spend our $2 million. I also think we need better input from the residents. It's become very obvious, especially through this campaign, that people really aren't getting their voices heard on what they want. It's been very divisive. So in saying that, I really believe partnerships are the way to go when building the MERC. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
All right, ignoring the cost of the actual construction and the sums of money that it's going to cost to maintain year by year, and the fact that EG's beat us to the punch and they're going to build theirs first, all 3 of which are huge reasons why this shouldn't happen. I've got an actual issue with the mentality of a facility like this. There's a movement towards a lean mentality in most industries, and you can actually see this in everyday life. If more people need healthcare, you don't just build a bigger hospital. If you want to improve the use of a library, you don't just build more bookshelves, you create outreach programs. So if you want to improve the recreation in a town, you don't build one facility. What you do is you spread out that money and use it towards upgrading the facilities that you have spread out through the entire community so that they're accessible to everybody.
Thanks, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
Everything that's been said has been pretty interesting, and there's a lot of things already on the books. The council and mayor and the previous council and mayor have done a really good job, and they have released a good job in studies, consulting, surveying, and thinking about the future. They have released $2 million in funding, and this funding will be looking at preparing for the building's needs and a deeper level, the business plan, investigating grant sponsorship and partnering. Additionally, what the actual facility will be needed for is already well laid out. Pools, youth lounge, multi-purpose, auxiliary spaces, and there'll, of course, be some negotiables in there. How can we afford it? Well, it's in development charges that the main piece will come. And that's every time somebody develops, it's like cash in the bank for us. It's not going to come out of our taxes.
Okay. Thank you, Charlene. At this point, I believe this topic has enough different opinions on it. I'd like to open it up for debate. So I will allow the candidates to address that if they'd like to debate, and I'll open that floor starting with Spencer.
Thank you. I have to kind of disagree. Like, I understand what Charlene was saying, but I kind of have to disagree with that it won't come out of our pockets, because no government project ever has run on budget. Therefore, at some point, the town will have to find that extra money. It may not be able to come from the development charges. It may have to come out of the tax base. In the long run, I think that it may not cost us money today, but it may cost us money down the road. And if we don't set up for that in advance, we're not going to have the money when we need it, and the facility's going to go downhill from being a state-of-the-art facility.
Great. No, thank you. Charlene?
There's two major factors at play. They've just done a study on all the buildings. In order to get them up to the accessibility needs for 2025, there's about a $30 million deficit just in that alone. Many locations are not going to move forward. We're going to have somewhere to go. We've also done a 10 to 20 year feasibility financial study that shows, with the new people coming in, how that tax base will, with user fees, sustain that building.
Boris?
When the issue comes up with any kind of new rec facility, people bring up a second pool. So that's their emphasis. They want a second pool. There's only one in all of Georgina. Oakville did a study in 2013 about a state-of-the-art 50-meter 10-lane. That was going to cost about $25 million. Now, that's a big project. So as opposed to that, I mean, the range for an indoor pool facility, it can go much lower than that. And this pursuit of, we either get a big project, a massive project, or nothing. Nobody gets anything. So for 10, 15 years, people are waiting for a big project. In the meantime, the town could make smaller facilities that can meet those needs, and that is the alternative.
Great. Okay. Sylvia?
Yeah, with the Merck, you know, I've had meetings with the president of YMC Canada, and I've had meetings with a bunch of other people, and also with the mayor. And the YMC is out of the picture, according to what I've heard from council and mayor. But what I've heard is we need to have the Merck happen right now. It has to happen. And people are delusional if they think that they're not going to pay for it. People always want to have roads fixed. They want to have a Merck. They want to have a place to raise their families and be happy and proud to do so, but not pay extra taxes. They're going to have to do that. And that's reality. And I'm okay with that. Paying an extra $100 a year to have a swimming pool and a gymnasium, I'm okay with that. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sylvia. Forrest, did you raised your hand, Forrest?
We put in a new pool, and what happens to the pool in Sutton? That'd be my question. Just talking to the Minor Baseball Association, they need ball diamonds. They're short of ball diamonds for their kids. We built the Rock many years ago, however many years ago. We built the Rock. It's supposed to be a toboggan hill is when it was supposed to start out as, and now look at it. Do you realize, and if you don't know, we're spending this year, and I realize it's a service, and it's a great service, but we're going to spend $750,000 this year, for sure, in the hole. We're going to lose $750,000 at the Rock this year, guaranteed before we press go. I get we need these services, but we need roads to get there, and that's my honest opinion. We need roads, and we need our fire department to be able to get on these roads to service the people in life and safety issues, as opposed to putting in a Merc that we don't need yet. We need it soon, but we don't need it yet.
I think we had Lee, then Mike, then Robin, and then I'll call the debate there.
I just want to counter the costing of the MERC with regards to DCs. Right now, the plan for the town is to go into debt $25 million to build this MERC, okay? That interest on that $25 million cannot be paid out of DCs, and neither can the funding used to actually operate the MERC. So DCs are not the solution here. They might help with some of the building of it, but they're not going to pay the $750,000 a year that's going to be just in interest alone on a debt of $25 million.
Lee?
Thanks. Well, first, I'm not sure where I heard it along the table, but I don't believe that residents paying tax here, being in this town, should have to go to East Gwillimbury to get services. To me, that's unacceptable to say, hey, they're building one down the road, let's go use that one. Alternatively, I think the only way forward with this, before $1 is spent, is to understand why, what, and how, resident input, and an actual idea of what exactly is going to happen before you spend $1, because without that, you're just facilitating a massive build to where you don't understand what's actually going on.
It's too late. We already put in $2 million.
I'm sorry, Forrest. We'll just try to keep it in order, okay? And Robin?
Thank you, Joe. I think the key is effective planning and building those strategic partnerships. I'm glad that the $2 million has been put into this year so that we can move forward and not end up under the gun where we're in desperation in the future, making the decisions quickly because it's way overdue by then.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we'll be moving on to question 2, keeping us in time. What kind of industry do you see being attracted to our municipality, and what can we do to help fill empty commercial spaces? I'm going to open this up to candidate number 3, Sylvia.
Thank you. Number one is I am a huge supporter of the business park that is slotted to go in on the east side of Woodbine, north of Ravenshoe. And I look at industries like insurance companies, something that pays people more than minimum wage. Now, I would love to see something on that slot where I can take my wife, my kids out for a date night and have fun and go for a nice restaurant. Unfortunately, that's not going to help us out in the long run, but I would love to see something that really builds jobs and industry in that area.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Boris?
One issue that I've talked to business owners about that's been with some consistency is the problem with retail space. So leases in Georgina are relatively more expensive than in other townships where it's more expensive to get a house there, but it's not more expensive to get a lease. In Georgina, retail space is limited. So when you bring up a new business park or anything like that, is that going to create more leasing space? We hope that will. And with regards to that, that makes it more competitive. There's a lot of businesses that have operated in, down south of Richmond Hill that do want to move into Georgina, but because it would be more expensive retail space, or comparatively in terms of the business they would be doing, it is not worth it for them to do that. So we have to tackle that issue. That's the number one issue that I think right there, and part of that has to do with permits and licensing and all those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy?
I think that what I feel about this is that we have to really support the official plan for the town. And that official plan is aiming to be able to build a strong and competitive economy within Georgina, with vital downtown areas in our 3 urban centers, and creating well-paid, stable jobs that people are able to support themselves and families on. And in order to fulfill that, we have to start thinking about what kind of businesses we want, what kind of light industry do we want that suits our town and our character. And the town council is trying to do their best with economic development. They have boosters that are trying to attract business, and we have to really support them, and I will support them on council.
Thank you. Forrest?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please, just for clarity?
Question number 2, what kind of industry do you see being attracted to our municipality, and what can we do to help fill empty commercial spaces?
We have a ton of empty commercial space. We need to do everything we can to support the economic development. Right now, we need anybody. Someone said beg, borrow, steal. We need somebody to come up here, but it's only going to come when more people come. You're not going to go down to Starbucks and tell Starbucks to put in a facility or a shop on a corner in Keswick. Well, at least I don't think you are. Until we get more people. More people are coming. I'm going to save this time and pass it on to the next. This is part of economic development, and people that are going to need to be a lot more people other than me trying to bring economic development and businesses to this area. And if we're leaving it to Ward 1 Council, we're in big trouble.
All right, thank you, Forrest. Spencer.
For empty commercial spaces, I know it sounds backwards, but I feel like we need to build a few more commercial spaces. A lot of the issue right now is the cost of rent and lease in those facilities already. So if you had more, it drives the ability to charge too much for your rent down. And that would allow businesses to grow into these spaces and fill the empty commercial spaces. The other thing for businesses, we could attract all kinds of businesses. We're in a good area. We're right at the end of the highway. We have a lot of people. We could do technology firms. It doesn't matter. A lot of the business that we can attract, we need to attract professional jobs and higher end jobs that aren't going to pay minimum wage, so that people can actually earn a living while living in the town rather than having to go out of town to do it. And that would create more of a sense of community in the community. And the business park, I've heard a few business owners have been unable to get space there, and I think that needs to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
Well, first, I think we need a mix, especially on the Woodbine corridor, of some industrial and corporate spaces. I'd also like to see a hotel in South Keswick. I think with the region adjusting their development charge rate, I think that's something we may see in the future. But along the Queensway corridor, I think it's important for the town to create sort of a Main Street feel to attract more people into sort of a unique space. Markham, Stouffville, all these unique spaces have a Main Street that drives production, and we're just not doing it uptown. I also feel very strongly that we need to create envoys. I know we have, somebody mentioned boosters, we have some people working with committees, but I think we need real experienced envoys that are there just to go approach businesses, whether that's in concert with the owner of, say, the business park and others. I think that's a very important thing to have going forward, because without the business, you're just owning land. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
All right, a question about business. This is right up my alley. As a business owner, I know what it's like to market yourself to a customer, and that's exactly what businesses are to a town. What we need to do is convince them, and that might start with the developers, that Georgina means business. Right now, we've got a great opportunity in Ward 1 with the 404 extension reaching Ravenshoe there. What we need is the business park with easy access, and what we're going to get from there is manufacturing jobs and all the peripheral jobs that are going to follow that. What I'd love to do is sit down with the Chamber of Commerce as well as the other members of council and decide a plan as to how we're actually going to market ourselves. And I think that's something that I can really add value to.
Thanks, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
Newly appointed to the Economic Development Committee is really an exciting time for us, because we do have a lot of growth happening. And one of the things that many of the candidates have spoken about is that attraction piece, and that is where we are. We've identified key holes in our attraction that we need to sort of touch up on. Basic information for those who are shopping, those who we're marketing to, information that we need readily available. So those are the next stages in the attraction piece for current spaces. And then when we go to build the park, this is privately owned land, so we in council have done everything we can to open it up, make it shovel ready, but it won't be up to us. There is some ideas around light manufacturing, tourism-based, sea-doos, showroom manufacturing, sort of anchor pieces inside that business park.
Thank you. Robin Smith.
Thank you. We've recently approved a strategy and action plan. It's in place, and some of those ideas include professional businesses and environmentally friendly manufacturing. I will support economic development with the requirements they need to achieve the items within that plan. Brilliant people were part of the study. Consultant, staff, council, residents, business owners all had input. And we don't need to reinvent that work that's already been done. We do need to work together to make it happen. I'll support the actions within the plan. I'll attend meetings with builders or businesses as it's appropriate to share why Georgina is ready to boom and why it's a great place to do business. I've always shopped local and encouraged local commerce and the positive incremental benefit that it brings to our whole community, and I will continue to do so.
Thank you. The next question that we have actually comes from our audience. It is only a matter of time before we see an increased pressure for high-density development on the shores of Lake Simcoe. How do you believe the town should protect our lakefront for all of the residents of Georgina? And this is going to start with Boris.
Okay, so this deals with both housing and the environment. So the housing issue in Georgina, there's a lack of affordable housing in part because of zoning regulations and the fact that there's not enough land. It's not so much that houses have gone up 500% to build, it's that the land is scarce. And with regards to the environment, business and environment can be cohesive. I understand that environmental books since the 1960s always say that we as human beings, we usually like to mow down anything in front of us, but to work around environment, it's harder to do that, but ultimately it's more rewarding in the short and long term for our health and for the health of future generations. So I would try to keep that relatively in check, to answer your question directly, because we can build somewhere else, and especially the lake. Georgina is the only York Region township that has access to the water, and we need to treasure that and protect it. Thank you.
Thanks, Boris. Cindy.
That's a very good question, because residential use, especially high density for landowners and speculators, is always the preferred option rather than other uses. So I think that this is something that we've met before. The Maple Leaf Estates debacle and what's happening there with the environment and trying to protect land that has gone through all of the hoops, but now because of our raised awareness and our environmental awareness now more than 30 years ago, we have a problem. So we have to rely on our conservation authorities, we have to rely on our own planners, negotiation skills, and try to develop partnerships with owners, because when somebody wants a piece of land to use it in a certain way, they're very persistent. And they will always come back. But we have to be able to try and dissuade, and if not, try to mitigate any sort of development.
Thank you. Forrest?
Well, I'm certainly for development with regards to it being on our waterfront. Obviously, we have a lot of issues at stake there. We have to clearly protect our water and our environment and our natural resources. So it's a fine balance, and that has to go back to our town council people who approve all these things and do a wonderful job at taking care of those things. We certainly need more. We need more residential space. It's I think average homes are now $660-something thousand, thanks to somebody on panel who knows a real estate friend, and they posted it recently. It's outrageous. The pricing has gone through the roof. We've got to support, but I don't know that it's going to be on the water. I think we need to develop our waterfront as a recreational facility, a recreational activity where you go and you have an ice cream cone, you walk the beach. You know, Barrie has it great. I just think we got to. It's a fine line. We've got to be very balanced in what we do there. And but I'm certainly for development, just strategically.
Thank you, Forrest. Spencer.
Development on the lakeshore is not something that I would support necessarily. It depends on what it is. The lake is one of our most valuable assets in this town. We have one of the largest ice fishing tournaments there is on that lake. We use it for a lot of tourism and attraction of people from out of town to come down for the weekend and spend money here. And if we could get a hotel, they could stay down longer. They could do more vacationing here. Our waterfront used to be mostly cottages, and now it's turned into a lot more people living on it full time. But we still need to protect it to the best of our ability. We do need to develop some more maybe high density housing. We need to develop more housing, but we have other areas where that can be done. It doesn't need to be done right on the waterfront. And at the price of our real estate right now, a waterfront condo would be outrageously priced anyways, and very few people would be able to afford it. And it's not where the town needs to necessarily go, I think.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
First, I think we need to recognize where we live and how we live and what's in our town. And I think we need to be very careful about where we put waterfront strategies, and that includes building. The town has a master plan, the region has a master plan, the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority. These are all things that people can check out, and I think, to be very clear, I think it would be irresponsible to just start putting up mass density properties within Lake Drive and anywhere along the lakefront. You know, as most know, Bonnie Boats is going up very shortly, and with respect to building, there is neighbors, there's people in that residence, there are people that are losing out of that. So as much as we want to build, attract, I think we need to respect our waterfront better than that, for sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Mike.
I think, as some of the other people have said, a fine balance is what needs to be found here. I'm for development, obviously, but at the same time, I don't think an apartment building needs to go down on every beach. I think that we need to leverage the fact that the lake does help our economy, and put in some higher density properties on the lake, I think, is probably better for the economy for the entire community, as well as it increases supply, which obviously lowers the cost of some of these facilities.
Thanks, Mike. Charlene.
Striking that balance is always important for the community. Where we've been isn't necessarily where we're going, and it's going to take some challenges in the next few years to sort of understand where that balance is. There are a few projects already coming to the lake. The former Crates Landing, the second phase is proposed to have a hotel on it. I believe it's a 4 or 5 story building. The designs have changed a few times. And then the rumor of Bonnie Boats as well. There is a need to have smaller units, condo type units, for people who are new in the market or downsizing. It's important for our community as we grow. And of course, the Lake Simcoe Conservation, as well as our master plans, will dictate what we can clearly do. And that's where people have to engage. If they're not happy with those plans along the way, we have time to adjust them.
Thanks, Charlene. Robin.
Thank you. Obviously, the Planning Act really does dictate the amount of growth that we need to take. However, we can affect where that growth is. The Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority works very hard to protect our lake and the lands around it, as well as the Greenbelt Act. So I would trust that they would look at any of these proposals very closely and very clearly and ask for input from the communities as well. I certainly think there is an opportunity for some tourism development on our lake to bring people to Georgina and hopefully spend some money while they're here.
Thank you, Robin. Sylvia.
I like what Robin and Charlene said. You know what? It's a very funny question that you guys asked. And I moved to Keswick because I'm a big outdoorsman. I'm a fisherman. I love the lake. I love the waterfront. I'm a big advocate of protecting the environment. But to be honest, we need to use the lakefront, especially in the north end of Keswick and Georgina, to make sure that we can monetize that and also protect it as well. And we have plenty of things slotted in for development in South Keswick, and we don't need that to happen on the lake.
Thank you, Sylvia. We'll be moving on to question number 4. By the year 2022, Ward 1 is expected to reach a population of close to 18,000. With the expected growth in the south end, there are several items and initiatives that are part of the master plan, including the need for a fire station and library services. How would you propose these initiatives be prioritized and funded? And we'll be starting this with Cindy Clark.
18,000, that's a big number. I think that we would do what council does now, which is to look at projected growth, look at our strategic plans, and see what the priorities are in terms of infrastructure, because we have to have that in place before any of these changes could happen. And the need, what kind of library, what size of fire station, what kind of a need, because there's also discussion about regionalization of fire services and that sort of thing. So the future is going to change for us, and we need to make sure that as our population grows and we hit those numbers, that we have to make sure that the services are there to protect our population and to make sure that we can grow forward with any development that we do.
Thank you, Cindy. Forrest.
Well, it's probably, well, it could be a different scenario as far as the wards are concerned. We've got that coming up as well. We maybe have 5 wards, we might have 6. We're going to wait and see what happens with that. Ward 1 is notoriously the largest ward, population-wise, density-wise. We certainly need the fire hall. We already know that. I've talked about that already. Maybe it is part of the MERC that we're going to build. Where we're going to get the money, it's going to be out of our pockets. I mean, where else are we going to get it? We have no choice. We can try for some federal funding, some provincial funding. We can work on trying getting all that. And if we get it, that's great. I know the term that's been used many, many times is for this MERC and the fire hall and the swimming pool and whatever we're putting in there is to be shovel ready. Well, we've got to lay the foundation. We've got to use strategic planning, smart planning, business planning, and we need information and input from all of our residents at these town halls.
Thank you, Forrest. Spencer.
18,000 people in the ward, if the wards stay the way they are. It's a lot. It'll be interesting, but the big thing is the fire station library the priority and the funding. The priority would have to be, it would have to look at how the age of the facilities, how they're currently, what kind of upkeep we're paying right now to keep them running the way they're running, and what the user, so for a library, it's how many users we currently have at the current library to see if we need to build another one on this end of town, or if we just need to make it more accessible where it currently is. Funding, that's going to have to come from taxes or from government, or from the higher levels of government funding. The issue behind that is again, without having more corporate and business taxes, without having more commercial tax and industrial tax, we cannot afford to keep doing these things out of pocket of the people who live in town.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee.
Well, I'm of the mind that people are assets just as much as land is an asset. And I truly believe that work that the town has done already is actually stepping up to do some of this already, and more needs to be done. But work like Mr. Pisani does to ensure that grants and any monies that can be attained, set up reserve funds, these sort of things are important work. And I do believe the town is doing some of that. Is it enough? Probably not. I think this is a grave reason why everybody needs to look at each other and say, we need business in town. We need to be open for business. We need to be available for business. But because without development charges, without access, without monetary gains, we're not going to be able to do the things we need to do. We need to understand them and actually move forward. It's fine to have a committee. It's fine to have a consultation. But without action, at the end of the day, you've just spent money on a consultation with no results. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
Well, between those two choices, fire wins in my book. I really do believe that a new fire station is definitely required, probably by Glenwoods. I think we need to take a look at what needs to be done to prepare for that first, though. What we're going to have to do is hire new staff for it, new firemen, firepersons, buy new equipment, and then move them to the new facility. So that's something that's going to have to happen first, and it's going to be at quite the expense. Regarding the library services, we're already only open 6 days a week. It's not that people don't read on that one day. It's because we can't staff the current library that we've got. So I don't see a need to build a second one yet. What I think we need to likely do is just increase the outreach programs to make sure that people who don't have accessibility to that library get it.
Thank you, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
Libraries. I talked to Mary Baxter the other day, and I learned a lot about what a library is today. It's changed. It's not, of course, just about books. It's quiet space, it's job finding, there's Wi-Fi space, there's spaces for people who don't have offices. It's providing a lot more office meeting spaces as well. It's providing a lot more for this community than we realize. Also pop-up youth programs. So the youth show up, they pop up and do a program instantly. They don't like to dedicate themselves often to things long term. The library as well as the fire hall, the thing to understand as a counselor, bridging the information from these 200, 300-page documents is what we need to do. These aren't options. These are directives. When we hit certain numbers of population, it's our duty to provide the service. DC charges are in the bank. They're to be spent on it.
Thank you, Charlene. Robin Smith.
Thank you. We know it's coming. The population will be here. We need to plan by setting money into reserve funds so that it isn't a huge hit to the tax levy when they get built. An interesting fact that I learned is that more than half of the communities in Ontario run on a volunteer fire service only. We are very fortunate to have full-time firefighters in our community. It's like insurance. It's expensive. You don't want to need it, but you're so glad when it's there if you do. I think a shared location is an opportunity between the library and the fire hall to help cover operating costs.
Thank you, Robin. Sylvia Bona.
One of the main things I'm running for council is because I am sick and tired of people thinking that Keswick is a second-rate town, and I think it starts from the top down. And having a fire hall, having a library in Ward 1 and a fire hall that supports the community is extremely important. And I am all for that, 100%. And as a gym owner in town in Ward 2, I train a lot of firefighters and police officers, and these guys put their lives at risk every single day, every single night, on shift to save lives. And if we can give them the amenities and the facility to do their job, I think we're cutting them short. So I absolutely support that. And libraries, I know information is free these days, but like Charlene said, libraries are a little bit different than what we grew up with. And they're not just books. They're, it's Wi-Fi, it's job opportunities and so on. Thank you so much.
Boris Godzinevsky.
Okay, so first of all, about the population. The town paid for a study, I think it was in the neighborhood of $30,000, that talked about restructuring the wards. I support the 6-ward system where the population is more evenly divided. That takes the load off of the councillors in wards 1 and 2. And I think it makes it easier to relate to the people. As for the fire hall, that's integral. That has to, funding can be made for that. The way that our operational budget has gone up in the last 4 years, it's gone up much higher than the rate of inflation. So that is a top priority, and with top priorities, Georgina does have the funding for a fire hall because that is an essential service.
All right, thank you, Boris. We have a small window here where we can open up the floor, specifically talking about the prioritization within the last question. I'm going to open up the floor for additional comment or debate, and I'll be taking it from hands there. Forrest.
Prioritization has to be fire. Has to be fire over library, sorry. Essential services, number 1. The fire hall that we have in Keswick right now is awful. I was just there yesterday, Thursday. And it's in dire need of repair, and we got to get out of there, and we got to get over into somewhere that these guys and ladies can have somewhere that has a proper washroom facilities. If you haven't been in this facility, folks, you need to go there and take a look at it. You need to speak to Mr. Jenkins, and you need to see what they have over there. They have their fire suits hanging on a wall. These fire suits are supposed to be in an area that is dark with no sunlight on these suits. They're in an area right now that the direct sunlight is coming into this area onto the suits, which harms the suits. These suits are $2,000 a suit. A new fire truck costs $540,000. We have a lot of money to spend there. It's essential service, definitely before the library, 100%.
Any additional comments? Lee.
I'm not sure where the conversation went from, is it going to be a library or a fire hall? Maybe I misunderstood the question.
I'll reread. By the year 2022, Ward 1 is expected to reach a population of close to 18,000. With the expected growth in the south end, there are several items and initiatives that are part of the master plan, including the need for a fire station and library services. How would you propose these initiatives be prioritized and funded?
Okay, so I spoke to the funding earlier. Obviously, essential services need to be prioritized ahead of, but I don't believe that we are putting our firefighters in a position where they can't do their job. And I know some analysis is going on about making things regional and stuff like that. So I think we need a full awareness of the whole situation. Just to sit here and debate on a priority may be lacking information for sure. Thank you.
I'm going to thank all, well, we'll have to wrap that up there. Thank you to the candidates. We are now going to take a short break, but please come back and join us for the second half of the Georgina Ward 1 by-election candidates debate right here on Rogers TV. Georgina.
Hi, I'm Julia Supa. I'm so happy to be bringing you a brand new season of In the Know with fresh guests sharing their expertise. Topics that will help you and your family and make your life easier, like managing and shedding your debt, eating healthy, planning your next event, and so much more. If you're a local expert and you'd like to be in the hot seat, I'd love to hear from you. Visit us at rogerstv.com/intheknow and tune in to In the Know with new episodes every Thursday at 6 p.m. right here on Rogers TV.
So why volunteer at Rogers TV? Well, it's fun, exciting, and challenging. You can develop practical, hands-on skills in TV production, make new friends, and have fun, all while giving back to your community. For a few hours a week, you can be part of a great team making great local television. Want to find out more? Get in touch with us at rogerstv.com. Make your mark and find a new passion as a Rogers TV volunteer.
Gentlemen, I will endeavor to describe the feeling on this ship. The American ship is just trailing the Blue Nose.
Angus should never have agreed to this last race. She's too old.
Eddie!
Johnson, halyard back! Get to it, Matt!
Appears there's some kind of difficulty. Seems to be something loose up there, I believe. Our topsail's foul!
Just once more, old girl, and you can rest.
Her last race and still undefeated, the Blue Nose out of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia was fastest in the world for almost 20 years.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company to bring you home safely. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
I'm Joe Connors, and I'm pleased to announce I'll be making a return to Rogers TV here in town with a whole new show talking about music. From great people, great music, local artists, all homegrown, and they're sharing their story. It's one of those things, it's so new we don't even have a name for it yet, but stay tuned, it's coming to Rogers TV. Welcome back to the Georgina Ward 1 by-election candidates debate on Rogers TV Georgina. I'm Joe Connors, your moderator for this evening. We now move on to question 5. Question 5 was actually proposed and submitted from one of our members of the audience. We live in a lovely country town. How do candidates propose to balance keeping the country charm, ways, and simplicities against the demands of conveniences? People are losing sight of our lovely country town along with its charming simplicities in exchange for every corner having these conveniences. These constant demands for conveniences bring higher and higher taxes. We are going to move that on for starting with candidate number 6, Forrest Jones.
Well, it's an extremely difficult balance. Everything the town does, it's a balancing act, frankly. And I would support, it's so hard. I absolutely love going to the beach, and my brother-in-law had a boat 1 year, and we were out in the boat, and we just enjoyed it so much. And can't say enough about the social part of that, the social fabric of our core, and kind of the cottage feel. And I feel that we have that more on the sort of the left side or the west side versus in Simcoe Landing. I think some of the people in Simcoe Landing don't even sometimes, get that opportunity or even that feeling sometimes. In my backyard, I put up a bonfire, and I can listen to my neighbors play the music, and it's phenomenal. So that country feel is what I love. We've got to continue and cherish that, but we need, and we're going to get a lot of people coming into town. We've got to have a fine balancing act. It's not easy, but collectively with the town, we have no choice but to do it.
Thank you, Forrest. Spencer Phillips.
We have, as Forrest was saying, we have a fine balance that we have to try to keep. The earlier question was 18,000 people are going to be in Ward 1. That's a lot of people to try to keep this small town feel together. But I feel like if we try to evolve the community from more than just a bedroom community and bring in so that people work and they play and they live more fully in the community, it'll give us the opportunity to keep the small town vibe while we grow. If everybody has to commute to the city to work and commute, they're not going to feel like the community is theirs as much as they would if they work in the community, live in the community, and play in the community. I feel like it makes a big difference depending on how you treat your community, depending on how you have to live in that community. And I believe that we can keep the small town feel while very carefully expanding for the future.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
Well, I too think that there is some division between those that sort of have a sleepover community, especially, predominantly in the south end of Keswick, and those that live along the lake and some of the older subdivisions, and, out McCowan, Warden, Kennedy, in those areas. I think societally we need to have a cultural setup to where we designate our town not for programming, not for bylaw, but as a society we say that this is what we are and this is what we are, and that's a part of our plan. I'd like to see, more than just a farmer's market. We need to advocate for things that make people want to be involved, want to care. I mean, there's environmental issues that are going on in this town that have been going on for 30 years, and as a society, that should go with the atmosphere. And I think by creating an atmosphere in a society that this is where we want to live and this is our environment, I think that'll make a big change. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
Yeah, it is a tough balance between that country town charm versus conveniences. Personally, when I moved into town, it wasn't because it was a country town. I moved into a subdivision, and everybody I know in that area moved into a subdivision. So I'd like to see those conveniences expanded, but growth has to pay for growth. So if we want those things, and most people do, then we have to accept the fact that the community is going to grow and get past that. Obviously, we can recognize the heritage of the town itself, but to say that the entire community should be either a country town or not, I think is a fallacy.
Thank you, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
Community doesn't matter what it looks like. It's about how you act. So get out there, know your neighbor, shake their hand, shovel their driveway. For me, it takes me almost 3 hours to grocery shop because I know the store clerks and I know many of the people along the way, and people are actually a complete delight. You interweave yourself into a community. As far as what it's gonna, so that's community, that's small town, that's help each other out. We have that opportunity now, but everybody has to do that. As far as what it's going to look like, the intensification plans tell us very clearly there'll be 30% building and 70% protected lands. We're going to have a lot of agriculture, a lot of countrysides, with some compact places to live. Let's get out there and get to know people. It's that simple.
Thank you, Charlene. Robin Smith.
Thank you, Joe. You know, the solution to that will take a lot of focus and effort. A lot of our growth is actually mandated by the province, and maintaining the country charm may not always be possible overall, but we can certainly protect specific areas and pay attention to those. Our small town feel is us, though. It's participation in the community, and that is the people, and we can certainly keep that by taking part in everything that Georgina has to offer. Will the conveniences of growth create higher taxes? Certainly the fire services and garbage pickup, all of that does cost money. But smart development, specifically business development, will actually help to balance the tax issues.
Thank you, Robin. Silvio Bona.
I'm certainly progressive in terms of development and growth, and getting business in town, getting more homes in town. But I'm blessed enough to live on a street where everyone knows my name, everyone knows my kids. It takes a village to raise a child, and they're so nice. And I think, like Charlene said, having a small town charm is being involved in the town. And I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, for actually being involved in municipal politics, because not enough people are involved in politics in their area. And with our subdivision and with our streets, people are involved, and I really appreciate it. So that's something that, people, if they want to have take action, they need to be part of the process. Thank you so much.
We're going to move on then to Boris Godzinevsky.
I get the feeling, especially the last 5 years, that longtime residents are being priced out. And then I go door to door, and people tell me they have the same feeling. It's interesting that the voter base that puts people in power now might not be around in 20 years. And that's a problem. I think affordable housing is #1 issue with regards to that. And we want more people to come to Georgina, especially businesses. But we want to take care of those longtime residents that have built families here, because it's not an investment portfolio. People build lives here, and that's why we should not forget the people who built this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
The small town feel is something that means it's different for me than perhaps for you. But for me, I think that we have to admit that we are going to be modernized. It's the rate of modernization, the rate of development, and how we are planning our outside spaces that will allow people to feel more at peace in living in the town, a slower pace, less congested pace, more nature around them. So I think that because it's great to live here, that need to work here, we have to look at suitable industries and businesses that will come here that are not going to be pushing us to the perimeter with density, such high density. So I think it's important to know that we have to be very prudent in how we develop. Also, I think that community improvement programs are important.
We'll be moving on to question 6. Tourism presents a significant opportunity for Georgina. Are there any other tourism-related infrastructure that you could support, such as more transient boat slips, expansion either in size of existing parks or amenities within the parks, or something new? And adding in an addendum that came from the audience, do you support developing a residents-only beach in Georgina? And we're going to pose this starting with Spencer Phillips.
I know that talking to people, not just in Ward 1, but also in other wards, that the feeling on the lakeshore is starting to get very crowded with people who are out of town. One of the people that I've talked to was saying that the beach he used to go to all the time with his kids, it used to be very small time, not very well known, but now there are people who pitch tents at the beach and stay all day and do things, and town comes around and they tell them to stop doing certain things, and they'll stop for a little bit and then they'll go back to doing it. And so I think a residents-only beach might be good for that purpose. It feels very exclusionary though, so I'm not sure how well it would really work out, but we have private beaches already, so that's not really too big a deal. But the tourism is a big factor. We need a hotel really bad because you can't expect people to keep day tripping down here and not have a place to stay overnight and spend money.
Thank you. Lee Dale.
Well, first to the resident, I absolutely believe that we need resident-only space on the waterfront. You pay your tax here, you live here, you support your community. I believe you're owed that, absolutely. One of the other things, obviously, there's a new waterfront strategy and development program going on where they've allocated $120,000. This strategy is going to develop a review and set up a plan for revitalizing waterfront spaces. You guys are voting for a Ward 1 councillor. Very good example is Adeline Park and Young's Harbor. These are destitute and in dire need of repair. They're being used predominantly by out-of-town residents who are non-residents who take advantage of the space, leave their garbage behind, and offer very little in the way of financial gains in the town. As your Ward 1 councillor, I'd be advocating for that every day for the cleanup and maintenance and making one of those spaces resident only. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
Well, I have to admit that Lee kind of scooped up what I wanted to say there for the most part of it. Regarding a residents-only beach and then talking about tourism, it seems kind of counterintuitive that we can say, okay, well, come on to our city, but don't go there. So no, I would not be for a residents-only beach. I think it's kind of elitist. Regarding the revitalization of some of the parks we've got that might help with the tourism, I agree with Lee that both Young's Harbor and Adeline Park need work. But realistically, I think with Young's Harbor, the main issue is the parking. I've heard from a lot of the residents in that area that people are just dropping off their boats and then parking in front of their houses. So I'd like to see no parking there. For Adeline Park, I'd love to see new benches, maybe a swing set. That place really needs a makeover just to get some more traction.
Thank you, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
Tourism is really important to me. I actually took it for a few years and worked in the airlines for many. Inbound and outbound is really important, and we have to make a decision. The 404 is here. Are we going to be a tourism town or not? And if we are, then we have to open up that community spirit to it. And what that might actually mean is making sure that we invite the people into our community and hope that they respect things as such. Some will and some won't. We know that. We need a little more support from M&R to work on people who are doing things with the fisheries and whatnot. It's outside of our jurisdiction. A resident-only beach, I don't think we even have the land for it at this time, and I'm not sure if we've got the cash flow to go buy $2 million on the water. I do think it's counterintuitive also, like Mike, come on in but stay out. There are the beach associations. They have opportunities to maybe sector skidoos and whatnot.
Thank you, Charlene. Robin Smith.
Thank you. There is a tourism plan in place. I know the Chamber of Commerce worked diligently with the East Gwillimbury Chamber of Commerce to develop a strategy that's been accepted by our Economic Development Committee. And there are certainly action items there that we can move forward with. As far as the resident-only beach, I'm kind of iffy on that idea. Truthfully, we do technically have them through the beach associations. However, a lot of those areas aren't really suitable for swimming at this point in time, and maybe that's where we can look at revitalizing, possibly getting the beach associations to work cohesively together and make those better.
Thank you, Robin. Sylvia Bona.
With tourism, I think we are underutilizing our tourism quite a bit, especially the lakefront. And I think that what I envision with tourism is not a resident-only beach, but what I envision is a town selling permits to having food trucks, having amenities on the beaches that we currently have already. When I go to Willow Beach with my kids, my family, we don't have anything available for us to have lunch. We have to pack our own lunch. And if we can have a food truck there, that'd be incredible. And we can have seasonal licensing, and we can make quite a bit of money on that besides the parking, because residents-only beaches do exist in South Keswick, in the communities, but we also have free parking. If you go to the library, you get a parking pass, you have free parking in the north beaches of Keswick. So I hope that the town can, I'd support the town getting permits for food trucks and other amenities in that area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Boris Godzinevsky.
Okay, well, this is a topic that I know quite well, considering that I worked on the parks for a couple of years. I can be honest, or I can be nice. I can be both. The fact is that the town generates a lot of revenue from the beaches. And to me, with regards to tourism, we can certainly implement more progressive policies, but the residents do get shortchanged, because what happens is you have those parking passes, you have the right to park, but then people outside of the town have taken up those parking spaces. As opposed to a resident-only beach, what we can do is we can block off more parking spaces for only residents for the beaches that we have. So we guarantee that there is a good amount of spaces for residents to use, as opposed to when a resident comes in, the parking pass is no good because all the parking spaces have been taken out. But we do have the beach associations, and that is something that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
I think that one of the biggest problems we have is the fact that it's not just the local beaches in South Keswick, but all beaches have to be cleaned up after the tourists come and even after the citizens come. We can't do much about that, but what we can do is try to have much more maintenance on the parks in terms of going there at midday and having the garbage being overflowing and that sort of thing. Also, the parking issue definitely is a problem. We have to look at different ways of parking around our beaches so that people actually are able to get there and EMS is actually able to get through. And if we have residents-only beaches, how do we support them? How do we pay for them and maintain them? And for the number of people in our ward, would it even work if everyone decided to go to beach that day? I'm not sure.
Thank you. Boris Jones.
It's going to be a good thing that the tourism issue isn't just a Ward 1 issue. It's going to be a Ward 1, 2, 3. It's going to be a town issue. We need tourism like there's no tomorrow. We need tourism in our community to drop money at our restaurants, to drop money at Angelo's sports store, and we need our tourism to be increased to the maximum of our ability. Tourism dollars, as he mentioned, generates a lot of money for all of our businesses, and we need to incorporate that. I'm right down the beach. I could almost throw a baseball to the beach, and there is a private beach there for that association. And I drive by. I'm not a member of it because that particular beach I'm not frankly that interested in. But the reality is there's hardly anybody ever there. So I would be a 0% in support of a residents-only beach, for sure.
Thank you, Forrest. I'd like to take the moment to Yep, sorry. Oh.
Can I just make a comment?
Oh, I'll open up the floor for a debate, and then Lee, I'll get you up first. So for any other further discussion, debate, and we'll start that with Lee.
Well, first I want to clarify that the beaches I'm speaking of are in Ward 1. I'm not speaking anywhere north of Ward 1. And that is my focus of this conversation. I first want to say that as far as exclusionary or elitist or any of these things, these beach associations we keep hearing from the panel, most of them are pertaining to deeded access and resident-only spaces and don't involve the whole community. So to me, that's zero accountability for anyone but the people accessing them. Second, as far as the parking issue goes, I want to make very clear that we put in a pay-to-park system there, and residents that live in that neighborhood can't even exit their driveways for the vehicles coming and parking and blocking. That's no way to live. So a resident-only space will create parking space. Thank you.
Charlene Biggerstaff.
The associations, Lee's correct that it is sort of in narrow blockades, but we could look at Pine Beach. They've done some amazing forward thinking. They've opened up, their board has opened that up to all residents. There are other multi-uses in the winter that we could help support those beaches, like make it the skidoo, make it the kiteboard, make it the ATV. And so these people are also now memberships as well as additional residences. Again, the problem in Ward 1, though, with these beaches is most of them are no longer usable, swimmable, because of the phosphor loads. And we understand that the lake is healing, but not quick enough.
Okay, I apologize. I will have to get to the next question. What we will be getting to, question number 7. Council is a group of 7 different people, all with different goals. How will you work with other members of council to accomplish what you feel is needed? And we're going to start this off with Lee Dale.
Well, that's not one that you're going to have notes for, but essentially you need to form partnerships in life, partnerships in council, partnerships in the community. I think you need to, at some point, understand that you have people to work with, you have people to understand from, you can take something from everybody, but I do believe at some point you need some adversarial mentality when you're working in council. You need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, you need to be able to advocate for the residents and your constituents. So I think with good partnership comes good conversation, and one-sided conversations where you're just conforming to thoughts, I don't believe is the answer. So thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
Well, I'm hardworking, I'm willing to get things done, and I've got experience with politics, but realistically I think everybody at the table should have had that before they stepped up to run. What I can really bring to council is an openness to opinions that differ from mine. I think somebody going into council with the idea that they're going to jam their agenda through or tell staff exactly how to do their job, you're going to fail miserably, simply because of the fact that council is a team effort, and it has to be treated as such. I know how to be on a winning team, and I can't wait to actually work together with the other members of council to get stuff done.
Thank you, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
I agree with a lot of what Mike said. First and foremost, we're whoever sits at the table, and we've got amazing choices here in front of you. We have only got a year and a half to get something done. The reality is the budget's in place, the master plans have been looked at, the long-term financial pieces have been looked at. There's upper tier directives that are there. There is directive that council has already put into motion. This person needs to do their homework. I feel I have been. They need to have relationships already in play. You've got a year and a half to get on board. And also, you need to know your community. Those are the 3 keys here. Working as a team, of course, but you've got to know all those pieces. You can't go in and just want what you want. You're a voice for people, so you better know who your people are and what the team is and what the rules are above you.
Thank you, Charlene. Robin Smith.
Thank you, Joe. There may be 7 different methods or 7 different focuses, but ultimately I think all of council actually has one goal, and that's the best interest of the municipality of Georgina and the best interest of the residents of Georgina. And working together for that common goal is ultimately what we would do. It's going to include different opinions and different ideas and different conversations. But with that in mind, we can get there.
Thank you, Robin.
I think as a counselor, the number one thing you have to have is communicating and being in contact with your constituents after you get elected in council. So when I become a counselor, I envision myself constantly being in communication with my constituents, listening to their voice, being their vessel, number one. Number two, like Charlene said, is doing your research. You have to have your research done, and you have to know what you're doing, and also being a collaborative learner. As a teacher for over 10 years, I've worked with over 4,000 individuals on an intimate level, and parents, students, and dealing with people and communicating with them and understanding their issues and needs. I think that is definitely something that's important. So, being the voice of the people of Ward 1 is the most important part of being a counselor. And then from there on, working with local counselors is number two. So I love to be collaborative and work with them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Boris Godzianowski.
Let's be frank, it's not exactly 1 out of 7 votes. The mayor is from Ward 1, doesn't live there now. She's from Ward 1. Our deputy mayor is technically the Ward 1 elect, and she got upgraded. So that's 3 out of 7 votes. And then wards 1, 2, 3, they're interconnected. A lot of children, for example, go to school in wards 1. I mean, those are the 2 high schools that we have. And I have personally worked in all 5 wards, and there is cohesion in place. But whoever wins Ward 1 will have a strong voice on council. So you have that partnership, but you also can't deny the reality of the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
As a counselor, well, as a person, I have my own opinions. I'll be representing over 5,000 people, so therefore you're the boss, so that's your opinion. That counts. And it will be my job as a counselor, even though I'm one of 7, to understand and know the circumstances and what needs to be done, the facts, as Ward 1 sees it, argue the point, convince the other counselors that it's a point to be argued, and to push for approval for support for Ward 1. And there are rules to review and revisit decisions. Each counselor is independent. We can't really guarantee the outcome, but I will definitely do my best because we have rural and urban concerns in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Next to Forrest Jones.
There may be 7 different people, and I'm not sure about 7 different goals. I think we'll have one common goal, and that's frankly to do what's right by the residents of Georgina. A strong voice on council. Well, Ward 1 will have the same as Ward 3 and same as 5. So everybody's equal as far as I'm concerned, and we all have one vote that collectively need to be making decisions that's genuinely for the greater good of the entire community. We need to be helping, basically, in my opinion, residents and visitors explore all that we have to offer. It's on the Georgina website, and I think we need to build relationships. When I started this thought process of running for council, the first call was to Regional Councillor Naomi, and she was kind enough to return my call, and another councillor, and then the mayor, and then now all the directors of all of the town's staff. Relationships. It's built. We've got to build it on relationships, and I look forward to continuing to do that for the next 18 months.
Thank you, Forrest. Spencer Phillips.
I think that the biggest thing is not just going with the flow as the way it is now, but also not trying to force an agenda or trying to bludgeon your way through it. It is a team that you have to get on. Like, you do have to work as a team, but you also have to know where to compromise and where not to. I feel that the ideas of our ward as a Ward 1 councillor should take priority over necessarily just going, yeah, well, I'll vote for that just because everybody else is voting for that. I feel that as a councillor, I would tailor my votes and tailor how I work on things to how the people in the ward feel, and I feel that the biggest thing as a councillor will be communication with the people of the ward and then working with the people with the other counselors to communicate the feelings of the people in the ward to those counselors and to the council as a whole, in figuring out how exactly we want to do that.
Thank you, Spencer. The next question, what amenities would you like to see provided to youth in our community? What developments for seniors do you also envision for Georgina? We're going to start that off with Mike Waddington.
It's honestly one of the big things that I've been working on, and that's the improvement of the recreational facilities and the trails that we've already got. So for youth, for instance, what I'd like to see, and I think we've already got the infrastructure in place, any parks that have a splash pad, I'd love to see pop-up hockey rinks or at least skating rinks happen in those parks as well. As far as for seniors, I think is how you put it, I'd like to see more outreach to them. I think the library has a perfect foot-in to actually do that. We've got a lot of programs that we can run out of that, and I know for a fact that they're trying to reach out at the same time.
Thank you, Mike. Charlene Biggerstaff.
More comes with more money, and the MERC is designed certainly for, it's going to be a dedicated youth lounge as well as some spaces for seniors and that library facility. However, I think that we need to really celebrate what we already have. And we have The Rock, 2 skate parks, swimming lessons, ballet, basketball, archery, dodgeball, kickboxing, lacrosse, bike trails, basketball, art classes, archery, cake decorating, birding, events, survival skills, lacrosse, tennis, ropes, sewing, cooking, leadership courses, and first aid. Shall I go on? There's 30 youth programs right now, and I know that there's over 20 seniors. Let me tell you, there's 20 probably in a day. Most 15 plus can join an adult program in our rec guide. There's free drop zone, free Monday to Friday at the gym. The Rock has free shuttle services. There's volunteering, Jericho, guides, scouts, cadets, let alone what we offer here privately. We're well serviced.
Thank you, Charlene. Robin Smith.
Well, I was going to say that I think we're already pretty good at that, but definitely Charlene had the list. I'm trying to come up with just one more. Along with the youth programs, we do have Club 55, and there are some great opportunities there for seniors to interact. A new library, the study shows that there would be a need to have youth space and senior space, and I know that's part of the plan, but as I said, I think we are pretty good at this.
Thank you, Robin. Sylvia Bona.
I'm going to tend to disagree with that. I think we're lacking quite a bit. Living all over Toronto and a bunch of municipalities in the Greater Toronto area, moving to Keswick at 32, at 28 actually. We're lacking quite a bit of amenities, and Club 55 is okay. It's in Ward 2, but there's absolutely nothing available in Ward 1 for youth and kids to do. And I train kids, hockey players specifically, and they say, you know what, we play a game, car hopping, and we break into cars for fun. And if we had a community center like the MERC, and we had a facility where they can actually ride their bikes to go and actually play sports or have a games room or a facility, then they wouldn't be breaking into cars. And I think that we're lacking in those amenities drastically in South Keswick quite a bit.
Thank you, Sylvia. Boris Godzinevsky.
Well, having worked for the rec department for the town, can tell you that 6 to 13 was the age group. After 13, because they were deemed old enough to stay home, the programs really dry up. Obviously, the Ice Palace would be the main center for anybody living in Ward 1, as unfortunate as that is. But I mean, there's certain things that haven't gone the way that I think they could have. I've talked to contractors that work outside of the town, and I've just talked to them in terms of expenses, and they say, why don't we have more outdoor hockey rinks that double as a basketball court in the summertime? So, and of course, kids use that for skateboards too, if you've ever seen them. So, you know, that's something that's certainly doable, I think, within the town budget. That's about restructuring. And other things, there's just oversight. As far as with the seniors, Certainly housing is an issue that's come up in terms of amenities. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
Yes, I think that it's all been well said. I feel that the youth programs for the 14 to 18-year-olds are very lacking. A 15-year-old may be able to go and join an adult program, but they're not going to. And I also feel that having moved here and seeing teenagers who were not sports-minded, there wasn't a lot for them that they could register with or feel interested in because they had to actually get off the couch. So I felt that really we need to be looking at some of the programs for youth that are more arts, music, culture, business, Toastmasters, these types of things for youth, because these are our workers of tomorrow. And these are our leaders of tomorrow, and I feel that we need to encourage them to be involved and active within the community and feel connected and not have to leave town or go to activities that are not in their hometown.
Thank you, Cindy. Forrest Jones.
I think amenities for the youth and the seniors, frankly, are quite good. I received a book the other day, maybe a week or two ago, and as actually Charlene, I believe, just illustrated the number of opportunities that are available today. I was going through that catalog and I was mind-boggled at the amount of opportunities that there are. And a couple of courses are available for not only just kids, but youth, adults, and seniors. So I'm pretty pleased with what's available. Someone mentioned about getting from all the way over to the facility at on the north side of Ward 1. Well, for seniors and for folks, we have the Roots program, which is a phenomenal organization. That's a charitable organization that helps by picking people up, I believe, and bringing them to events like that. And so we need to support some charities like Roots. And speaking of charities, I want to say a personal thank you to everybody who brought something today for the food bank. I know that the folks there are really appreciative of it. And thank you for everyone who did that. And on to the next candidate.
Thank you, Forrest. Spencer Phillips.
I don't know how much more there is to say. I think that we have quite a few programs. I think that access to them, like accessibility, needs to be maybe increased, and the knowledge of what programs we offer maybe could be a little bit more forward. I feel like maybe sometimes people just don't know necessarily what we have available to them in their age range. I'm not sure what, and that's just something that I'm not sure how we can fix it, but we need to find a way, perhaps. Maybe some more programs for areas where we're lacking. The other thing is I have to agree with Cindy, we need some different programs. When I was growing up, when I was in high school, I wasn't really super interested in doing a lot of the sports programs that we had and things like that, whereas I would have been interested in some of the other kinds of programs that could be offered in town.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
Well, first, I think the responses on this panel, this question, are sort of indicative of things in our town. I'd like to speak to seniors. It seems like it's a foregone thought or the last part of a conversation. There is many charities, many volunteers, many family friends, probably people in the audience that do something for a senior. These services aren't enough. That's why everybody's running around doing these things to try and take up the weight for these people. And it's fantastic that the town does help with funding for some of these issues, but it's not enough. There's not enough affordable housing. There's not enough services. There's not enough anything being provided for a senior in this town. And I can appreciate that, we have some programming through town structures like we do for the youth for seniors, but it's not enough. And a lot of it's not viable or usable for a senior. So I didn't get to speak to youth, but I absolutely think we need to do better with the seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. All right, so next we have Mike Waddington. No, you already went, right? Yeah, correct. Okay, so moving on to our next question. What do you feel is the one thing you would like to see happen or changed in Ward 1 before the election in 2018? And this is going to open up Charlene Biggerstaff.
Changed. That's a big one. That's a really personal question. And I don't think it's just up to me. As a counselor, if this is the question, if I become counselor before 2018, what the heck should be changed in a year and a half? certainly I have to look at the constituents, and certainly we have to look at what's planned to happen, and we have to make sure there's a clear dialogue, and getting more people out to those open sessions and doing the surveys are important. I've heard a lot about congestion around schools. I'd like to see more grassroots programs, walking clubs. I'd like to see more open it up with the associations. I'd like to see more collaboration. I'd like to see more connectivity. We have some isolated pieces that are already working really well, and if we could just enable them to work together.
Thank you. Robin Smith.
Thank you. I think I'd like to see the whole ward feel more inclusive within the ward and within Georgina, and participating within the community. I don't know if the issue is awareness. Is it that not everybody in Ward 1 knows what Georgina has to offer, or are we not offering the right things? So these are questions that we would need to ask and understand and solve.
Thank you, Robin. Sylvia Bona.
Number one thing I want to see in Ward 1 would be a community center. Whether it's the Merc, whether it's anything else besides the Merc, but it has to be a community center, it has to be a gymnasium, it has to be a seniors, a youth room, it has to be something that our youth and our seniors can do after school or after work, or things they can do to connect and bring the community together. That's number one. Number two, it would have to be the issue of congestion, like Charlene mentioned. I've spoken to many principals of local schools in Ward 1, and I've also spoken to head of roads in regional York Region, and looking at cutting down the boulevard and increasing parking spots for parents to drop off and pick up kids at schools in our area. And that way we can safely drop off and pick up kids and limit congestion, as well as increase safety for our children and our families. So that's what I want to see, the Merc and safety for our families in drop off and pick up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Boris Godzinevsky.
Well, one of my top priorities is teen programs. We have 2 out of the 3 high schools. The other high school is in Ward 4. So after school, we need to have a good relationship with the York Region District School Board and see if there's any way, because outside of the Georgian Ice Palace in Ward 2, we need to have more infrastructure. Maybe we need to reach out to business owners if there's any way that we can work and provide activities for teens. And that's something that I'd like to see changed. And also, road maintenance. It is good in some areas, but in other areas it can definitely use improvement. And that's something that I think is with regards to budget restructuring. And that's something also because I think there are too many oversights with regards to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. Cindy Clark.
I think that I've made it very clear that youth programs 14 to 18 are a very big concern of mine, and with or without the brass ring of council, that is something you will be hearing from me up until 2018, which is my goal in South Keswick. Also, parking solutions for residents. People are just tired of getting ticketed. There's no room in your driveway when a company comes and that sort of thing. I'd like to look at automated parking solutions, or maybe using the municipal lots 24/7 with some sort of a permit that's low cost to residents. So if my 90-year-old parents come, they can park there and I don't have to worry about getting a ticket. Also, I would like to think that with the town of Georgina's progress, accessibility for people with disabilities and seniors for our open spaces, our public spaces, very important. And preparing for the budget for 2018, I'd like to see us try and get our tax levy down as much as possible and live within our means. And hopefully with 10 people participating, encouragement.
Thank you, Cindy. Forrest Jones.
Changes in Ward 1 before the election. I think I'd like to just see a lot more events, frankly. I think we need a lot more events in our ward to generate more tourism, to generate more income, to generate more opportunities for our businesses that are existing to make some money and to put some money in their pockets. So I'm all about creating events. I'll be creating a few events, win, lose, or draw, with this election this upcoming summer. Within my first 120 days, 3 events. And I think they're big, and I think they're important. And unfortunately, we don't always get enough time. I respect the time we have here, but we just don't have enough time today to talk about all of the things that we want to do. And I think our intentions, all of us, I think our intentions are genuine. I want to develop a junior golf program locally for kids, and that's one of the things we're going to do. It's a passion of mine. It may not be a passion of the entire community, but it's a passion of mine, and I'm going to get kids playing a little bit of golf with an ambassador program. So that's one thing I'm going to do, and hope for more tourism, frankly.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you.
Spencer Phillips.
Honestly, I think that the thing that I want to see change is even more business, a bigger commercial tax base, more meaningful jobs, not jobs, more careers, more options for people so they have something they want to keep doing rather than just something that they have to do for the short term. And in that, it'll lead to the services that we need, it'll lead to the facilities that we want. All that will lead to the spending that we want to spend and all the things that we want to have. That is what I think we need most.
Thank you, Spencer. Lee Dale.
Sorry, can you please reread the question?
What do you feel is the one thing you would like to see happen or changed in Ward 1 before the election in 2018?
Okay. Well, I think it's probably twofold. I don't think it's just one. I think we need a culture shift. We are a good example of how the ward system works in our community. We have a bit of rural, we have urban, and we have lakefront. The population's denser in some areas than others. I would like to see a change to where residents feel like their input has affected some differences in 2017, 2018. There's so many people from so many different areas that just aren't seeing that change. You know, they feel like they're seeing it in one area and not the other. I'd like to remedy that, and I'd like to listen to all those people. Also, I think very important is the judicial review. I'd like to see by the end of the year, at least by the end of the term, some real change with the Thane smelter. I'd like to see a resolution there, and I would like some answers, and I hope that we don't have to wait that long, and I hope that changes for everybody in Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Mike Waddington.
Well, obviously, I'd love to see me get elected in between now and then. I'm just going to fall back on my 3 main pinnacles of my entire campaign so far. I want to see a Safe Streets campaign run in Ward 1. As well, I'd love to see expanded and improved recreational options. And a big thing for me is respecting your tax dollars. I think all of these things can be done in a fiscally responsible way.
Thank you, Mike. We are almost out of time. We would like to move on to closing statements. Each of the candidates will be given 1 minute to make their remarks. We will be working in reverse order, so we will be starting with Mike Waddington and working across the panel. So Mike, I'll open it up to you.
All right, well, folks, at this point, you've heard all of our pitches, and I hope you believe that I'm the right person for this job. I've lived in Ward 1 with my wife, Liz, for over 10 years now, and we love the community that we're in. I don't just say that I've got business experience or that I'm a hard worker and that I think that this is going to be good for me on council. I was awarded York Region Small Business of the Year, and that proves it. I don't just say that I'm for helping the community. I was recognized for it on Portraits of Given, which was a celebration of those who give back to the community. And I don't just say that my political experience is extensive. I've hosted ministers from the federal government. I've been on committees with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce representing local businesses. And I was personally invited to Parliament by the former Prime Minister. It's these type of experiences that are going to help me advocate well on your behalf and effectively. I'm going to be a new but experienced voice on council, and I respectfully ask that you vote Waddington, I respectfully ask that you vote Waddington on March 27th.
Thank you, Mike. Lee Dale.
Well, I would first like to thank everybody in attendance. I'm sure the food bank appreciates it. I really hope that we've done Paul justice here tonight. I really do. I just want to say that I'm ready, willing, and capable of representing all residents in an equal and fair manner. I look forward to representing your dollars and your values, each equally and each important. I'd like to leave everyone with a thought here tonight. I've always believed that an average person can do extraordinary things. I have not sat here this evening listing off a big list of accomplishments or budgets awarded or things that I've done. And it's for this reason. If you look around the room, if you look around at home, there's average people doing amazing things for people in this community that really deserve the volunteerism awards, the things that they just don't get. They do because it needs to be done in this community. And I just want to thank everybody and say that I will respect your tax dollars, I will respect your voice, and I hope on March 27th you vote Lee Dale. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Spencer Phillips.
I'd first like to thank everybody for coming out and everybody who's going to watch this on TV over the next little while. If you elect me as your counselor, I'll listen to the concerns that you have, and I'll be your voice, and I'll try to solve any problem that you bring to me. If you want to talk to me, if you have any questions for me that you couldn't get in tonight or that you wanted to ask me after watching it on TV, feel free to contact me through telephone, through email, it's online, or through my Facebook page. I just look forward to seeing you come out and vote. Just make sure you come out to vote, because a vote for me is a vote for you.
Thank you, Spencer. Forrest Jones.
In closing today, I want to thank Rogers, the Chamber of Commerce, the Toastmasters, Joe, along with the people of Georgina for your participation tonight. I hope the weather's gotten better for everybody out there, and if not, please drive safe. I know our town employees are out there taking care of those roads that we so desperately need to take care of before we put the murk in. With my 20 years business experience, my 20 years networking experience, I've come to realize that relationships is what it takes to get things done. We need to build relationships. We need to understand who we're working with, and we need to have a strong commitment, a passion, integrity, trust. We need to have these things, and they can't just be something that we say. We've got to do them. I've built my business for the last 4 years based on all of those things, and it's a successful business in Newmarket. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a place that was financially viable here in Georgina, or otherwise I'd be here with that. I live in Georgina, I bleed Georgina, I want to be your counselor, and I'm just telling you now, we need opportunities here in Keswick. Georgina, we need to make it great again, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity today. Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest. Cindy Clark.
Wow. I wanted to tell you that the duty of government is to listen to the concerns and ideas of its voters, and then to pay the attention that's warranted for those ideas. And I will do that. The voter is the boss. And I have a lot of experience professionally of gathering large amounts of information, getting the solutions together, and then delivering it. And the boss is there to make sure that it gets done and the decision is made. And I will do that for the voters of Ward 1. I also wanted to say that I believe in doing what is necessary, and the council is doing a good job of doing what's necessary. And I will continue to sit at that table for Ward 1 and make sure that the things are done that are necessary for Ward 1 as much as I can. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming out and for your support today.
Thank you, Cindy. Boris Godzinevsky.
I have the knowledge, the experience, and I will dedicate my life to this ward and this township, because that's what you have to do. I don't want to be the type of politician that covers everything up nice and neat like it's roses. I'll tell you about the bad things, and I'll tell you why they're bad. And if I've done my job, then I can come to you and I can tell you how much better it is. I'm not finished. It's the people and the community. That's what's most important. And you're not done until you've done the best job you can possibly do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boris. Sylvia Bona.
Thank you so much for everyone coming out tonight. Really appreciate it, showing interest in your local government. And as a teacher of 10 years, I can tell you that I've worked with over 4,000 people on an intimate level, and I'll continue to work with my constituents when elected as councillor. I want to be their voice, I want to be their vessel, and I want to do the best job I can. And the main thing I want to see in Georgina is a multi-use recreational facility in Ward 1. And the reason I say that is because that saved my life as a teenager, and I have 3 young children, and I'm a family man, and I want to make sure my family has the best means possible in Georgina. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming out, and thank you so much for driving in the crazy snow.
Thank you, Sylvia. Robin Smith.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you all for your time tonight and your commitment to making the best choices for Georgina. Our ward is diverse in geography, growth, business, and population. Everyone has a different lens or a different focus. As a councillor, I will work with everyone to understand and represent our whole community. I will represent all of you with honesty and integrity. I will be available to you. I will ensure I understand the history of the issues and all of the solutions available and how they affect our communities. I will not promise things that I cannot control, but I promise to advocate for all of us on the things that I can. I look forward to meeting you and talking further. Please contact me and I'll gladly answer your questions. And remember Smith on voting day. It's the second from the bottom of the ballot.
Thank you, Robin.
Nice, nice.
Charlene Biggerstaff.
Well, we've got quite a selection, and this is quite incredible. So I congratulate everyone for stepping forward for this community, and I hope that in the future we see everyone participating. I know what I've done in this town, and it's been participate. I've shown up, I volunteered, I've opened up a award-winning business for the last 10 years, a sustainable one, one that also helps other businesses grow in this town. I've volunteered. In my past, I've also already worked with multi-million-dollar budgets as an outside sales representative. I've worked with downtown Toronto, all different types of people, met their needs, and ran about $31 million in sales for a national airline. Also in my past, I did an administrative assistant job and ran about $60 million in books. Additionally, I've worked with the Lake Simcoe Conservation and done a lot of nonprofit. I have the skill it takes.
Thank you, Shelley. So on behalf of our partners, the Georgina Chamber of Commerce and the Town of Georgina, we would like to thank you for taking the time to watch the Georgina Ward 1 by-election debate here on Rogers TV Georgina. Special thanks to the Simcoe Shores Toastmasters for their help keeping the candidates and our show on time. Please make sure you join us on Monday, March 27th on Election Day as we bring you live coverage of the results from this by-election. Join us at 8 p.m. with some great guests, including visits from our candidates here this evening. I do have to say as well, this production is dedicated to Paul Nichols. He was passionate about politics and about making our community a better place to live, work, and play. He will be missed. Thank you, and have a good evening.